Hi, I'm Craig Rowland, founder of Sandfly Security. Today, we're going to talk about malicious processes running out of temporary directories on Linux. Now, every Linux system out there has what's called temporary directories, typically called /tmp or /var/tmp. These are basically scratch areas that the operating system and the programs that run on it use in order to keep temporary data. It's kind of transitive in nature. These areas frequently are cleaned out when systems reboot, so you don't want to put anything in there that you need to permanently store, but a lot of system programs do write data there. Now, malware likes writing there because they're typically publicly writable areas without many permission restrictions at all. Plus, they contain a lot of junk, so a lot of administrators don't really look at them too closely, so it's easy for them to hide their data without getting noticed. Now, about 99% of the time, if you see a process running out of a temporary directory, it's typically bad news. About 1% of the time, it might be a legitimate program. For whatever reason, some programs feel like they want to run their process binaries out of the temporary directories. I feel this is a dumb idea. I don't know why they do it, but whatever. I'm not on the development team. I don't know why they decided to do it, but I feel it's a very bad practice. I wish they'd stop. But we have to deal with it right now. But just know that 99% of the time, if you see this, it's going to be no good. Now, we're going to go over here to the Sandfly browser, and Sandfly is an agentless Linux endpoint detection and response product. We also track SSH keys, do password auditing, drift detection, and more. But for today's demonstration, we scanned a host here called Sandfly Victim. The Sandfly Victim has had some alerts generate on it, and these alerts all relate to the same thing. Essentially here, we have found a malicious process that's been started from a temporary directory. Very, very common tactic, especially in kind of low-grade malware, although we have seen some advanced type malware and APT type groups use this directory as well. But the first thing we're gonna see here is that we discovered a file under here called temp.x0lock. And you'll see here that this file was found under the temp directory. It's a hidden Linux executable, and hidden executable file names are suspicious and not part of the normal Linux distribution. Basically, what we're saying here is someone took a hidden file as a Linux executable and they're just running it in general. First of all, you also notice that this has a weird name to it because that looks like a lock, but that's actually the letter 1. So this already has my immediate attention that there's something going on. I can pull over raw result data as well. This is going to be when the file was made, who owns it, hash information, and everything you need to know to start investigating this file. But let's go to the other alerts here. The next thing we see here is a process running again, and this process is basically on a listening TCP port. So essentially, a process name x0lock with this process ID has a listening TCP network port running out of a location temp. Basically, what we're saying here is that processes running out of a temp directory are already bad, but the fact that it's a process running out of a temp directory and has a listening network port serving network connections, this takes it to an entirely different level of badness in our mind. So we can see it here, the process name, we can see this command line with it, we can see the full process path. Under the raw result data, again, we can dig into the more detailed attributes of it, such as who owns it, when it was created, file descriptors it has open, process environment data information, and also too, we also get the network port information. So here I can see there's a network connection port listening on port 1337. So immediately, again, this process has some suspicious attributes. Finally, the last things here too, we see a process running with a hidden name, which we already talked about. This process here is suspicious. We'll get into that in other videos as well, but just know we found multiple alerts that all address basically the same thing. Now, how does this look from the terminal side of things? If I switch over to my terminal here, and I go to the temp directory where we said it was located, I do an ls, I look down here and I see a couple things odd. First of all, this is a legitimate file that was started by the Pi process here. It's 11 bytes long. This process here, though, is trying to look like it. And you'll see here it has a different letter. So this is actually the number 1. This is the letter L. So already this is a common tactic to try to hide. I can see it's a lot bigger in size. If I run... let's see here, x1 lock. If I run the file command on it, I can see here that's an ELF executable. Same deal here. I can also run a SHA-1 sum, and I could get the SHA-1 hash of it. But the thing here to understand is we can also do a process investigation with something called the LSOF command. So the process itself is very simple. Let me clear this out. Oops. lsof-p, and we're going to put our process ID here, which is 14721. And at that point, when I list that out, I'm going to see everything about it. There's my process name. There's the binary where it is. I can see all the libraries it has open. Again, here I can see that the TCP port 1337 is also open on it. If you want to do this manually, it's if LSOF is not installed, you can go to the proc directory. That's PROC slash the PID name. And again, here I can list out the process itself. I can see here current working directory, yep, and temp. I can see the executable file. We can also inspect the environment, file descriptors it has open, parent process ID, and things like that. These are covered in some of our other videos and some of our articles in our blog, but just know that this process at this point has enough going on that I think it's highly suspicious we would want to do something about it. So basically, that's an overview of what we see here. Essentially here, a binary hanging around in temp, that's kind of suspicious just by itself, but you know, maybe that could happen. The binary that was running out of a temp directory, highly suspicious. If the binary is running out of the temp directory and it's got a network port open, it's total red alert time. You got to get on the system. So I hope this information was helpful to you about processes running from temp directory. Not a good thing to have happen on your Linux box. So keep an eye out for it. So I'm Craig Rowland, founder of Sandfly Security. Thanks again for watching the video. Check out our other videos for more short Linux forensics and detection, incident response type topics, as well as many other topics that might interest your forensic response in the Linux environment. I'm Craig Rowland. So thanks again for watching, and bye.